Welcome again to another episode of the Dialed and Driven Hockey Mentality Podcast. It's a special one today. It's Chris Palmer, mental performance coach for hockey players. I have a client who's been with me for a long time. It's been awesome, about 5 years. And he's a special guy because he's not just a high-performing person, but he's a person who gives a crap about people. He's a full-on NHL guy who's had lots of action, almost 250 games in the NHL, and he cares about kids. He cares about people, and he's going out of his way to be on this podcast. He's not a big podcast guy. He hasn't done any. He's not a big fame guy, but he was willing to come here to share some of the mental performance things he's learned over the years, we've learned working together over the years, so that we can help people who are trying to go after the big dream. Dakota, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. It's a pleasure.
No, it's great. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is you and I started back when you were in the AHL. In this building, sometimes we record in different places. This building, we're in the Victory Ice Center. Victory Honda, Coach Brian Burke allowed me to use the space, and 5 years ago, he allowed me to use the space for the first time we worked together.
Yeah.
It's very fitting that the first time we talked publicly about this, we're in the same place where we started. We were just over there, not too far, and we talked about where you were in your life and where you wanted to go. You had just played one game in the NHL. You're an AHL guy with Springfield, trying to figure things out. And like every other time in your life, like everybody else, once you go to the next level, everything's different. Do you want to talk a little bit about that first part when you're first kind of going and figuring things out? You have that first game and you make a goal in your first game.
Yeah, that was a special time, like you said. The whole situation and how it happened kind of came out of nowhere and came together fast during that COVID season. I started off on a split squad in Utica with Vancouver and St. Louis combined on the Utica Comets. So it was half guys at each team, kind of a weird setup given that it was the COVID year, not how it normally goes. But thankfully, it was a good opportunity that presented itself there. And early on to start that COVID year in Utica, it got off to a fast start and a good start for me. I don't know if it was the long break or what, but it ended up working in my favor, and I got called up to St. Louis. And yeah, from there, I did happen to get one in my first game, so that was a great experience, but it all came together fast, and I've tried not to look back since, and it's been a fun ride so far.
It's awesome. I think when we first talked about this mental performance thing, you were a guy who, you were already really tough. Yeah. But what's really interesting is we talked about how to get an advantage. One of the reasons why you talked to me in the beginning was to just get an advantage, get an edge, try to move forward.
Yeah.
And you embraced it. I mean, you were all in. We did some stuff that was just crazy, and it was great. And I'd love to go back to that first game that you played, and here you have this first game, and you go on from there to having a season where there's no other goals.
Yeah.
Like it's looking like things are good. It's like, hey, it's good. And then all of a sudden it's maybe not so good. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. So it was obviously elation to get that first one out of the way in the first game. But, and I was going home and telling all my friends and family, like, this is easy. I can score all the time in this league. And then, for the rest of the year, I threw up zeros, which, at the time I was still, in that mindset of happy and just proud to be there. But given what I thought maybe after the first night, I was okay, but nothing outstanding. And it gave me a lot to put perspective on moving forward. And then in that following summer is when we first met.
That's great. I think one of the early things we talked about was, what do you want to do? Because you're an NHL guy. What do you want to make of this career? And you already had great stuff that had gone on. I mean, seriously, you've been at Ohio State. You've always been a star. Been this guy who just makes a difference all the time. And people love you. You bring this energy to a game. And I'd love to talk about, during that whole thing, deciding what you wanted to do, that was so empowering to you because, man, super quickly, you just decided what you wanted to be. Like, okay, I'm here now. What do I want to do with this opportunity?
Yeah.
And you made it this really, really cool opportunity.
Yeah, it was I guess, a different area of my life that I hadn't been in before, going up and down my first year of pro and having to spend some time in the East Coast League. And then, from there thinking, man, am I ever going to make it to the NHL? Going back up to the AHL and working my butt off to give myself a chance to make it to the NHL was a tough start. But like you said, it came down to like realizing what I wanted to do and go for. So going back to the COVID year, it was a whole year off of hockey, which was obviously not what you want, given that there's a time limit on this thing. But deciding what I want and really putting my foot down and going for it, and knowing it's not going to be an easy road, but a tough one, and just being willing to do whatever I can to make it.
I don't care if you're a kid in a house league in Florida. I don't care if you're a goalie who just got sat, a goalie who didn't make anything happen at AA, or somebody who's going into Tier 1, somebody who's trying to make it in juniors, moving on to college, whatever it is. People hit stuff that's kind of tough and not so easy. Like COVID was not fun. Up, down, up, down. Am I an NHL guy? I'm an AHL guy. And you handled all that at a time where people don't know if they're going to freaking die because they're wearing masks, trying not to get this mystery thing of whatever it is.
Yeah.
Kids have a hard time with this. Kids of all ages have a hard time with this. And one of the reasons we love having you on here, I'd love you to talk about, like, what was the thing that helped you keep getting back up? Because there's something about you that can handle the bad stuff, and you just find a way to get back up.
Yeah, I feel like it's for everybody, right? It's the uncertainty that you don't know what's ahead, and that's what scares people or, strikes fear. But that was the case ever since I was little and moving up each year. Pee-wees to Bantams, the guys are bigger, everybody's getting stronger. I don't know. Bantams to midgets, everybody same deal, a little bit older, a little bit stronger. So at every level, there's been that doubt at the beginning, and it takes confidence within yourself and a lot of belief to put your foot in the water and test it out. So I feel like that was a big thing, but definitely, just facing that doubt and realizing that everybody is the same and puts their pants on the same way at the end of the day did me a lot of favors over the year, and once you get into uncharted territory and find out that you're fine and you can do it, it goes a long way within people's mental and physical tools as well, knowing that you can make it and succeed. So just at every level, taking that and running with it and making the most out of it. And, the more times you do something, the more comfortable you are. And I've been lucky enough to, carve out a path to this point.
It's great. But you talk about this thing, just acknowledging that, hey, sometimes it's not so easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do have doubts, fears, worries. Everybody's got this stuff. It's instinctive. But, there are locker room videos of you got NHL guys who are just screaming F-bombs at their teammates.
Yeah.
There's guys who come in and they look like superstars, and all of a sudden they go through droughts. There's guys who are pissed off in the net that break sticks. It's an emotional game. Even in this last Stanley Cup run we just had, we had people losing their minds in one of the games, just fighting everywhere, and they just stopped playing.
Yeah.
And you're mentioning just acknowledging it. There's this thing in hockey. There's this thing in just growing up being men. Women have the same thing. They have dads and moms tell them just be tough, be tough, be tough. Be tough is part of the thing, but the other part is acknowledging the fact that there's doubt, fear, worry for everybody. Everybody's got stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd love that you talk about that, because that really is part of this thing. You can only be tough so much. There's, hey, man, this sucks. I got to do something about it. And then you get the hell back up and go for what you want. So I just see you do it all the time.
Yeah, that's big to where mental performance comes in, and realizing and separating within your mind that it's one thing to think about it, and it's another thing to do it. And making that choice to do it is what personally has helped me along the way. Like you said, everybody goes through the same things, and for me, it's about when something tough comes my way, it's what do you want to do? You can either pick up your ball and go home, or you can get out there and go for it. And just in my mind, just repetitively, it's always let's go for it and let's see what we got inside.
That's awesome. Let me go back to a couple of years ago. You messed up your hand really, really bad. And by the way, you're known publicly as a guy who's super strategic. You're like a laser-focused menace out there. This guy is just constantly displacing people from the puck, shoving people around. And you do a great job at that. And you also don't do stupid fighting. You fight when it matters. If somebody's messing up some guy on your team, you got their back. You're a team guy. You give a crap. You'll sacrifice yourself to help other people, and it's awesome. But one time you did it a couple of years ago, and you messed up your hand really bad, and you're out for like 20 games.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
This was a year where you had a chance to get an amazing contract. You get this free agency. You're going into a contract open to the world. Everybody can pick you up. And here you go out here, and you lose 20 games on a season where you were doing great. I mean, you were producing.
Yeah.
You were a hit guy. You were bringing the energy. How did you handle 20 games down at a time that could be so monumental for your own income in your life?
Yeah, that was a tough situation. I felt like I was really, finding myself and reaching my peak at that point in the NHL, as far as confidence and just feeling good about my overall game. It was a great season, and everything seemed to be going my way until that happened. Which, that was a tough one to swallow, but also at the end of the day, some things happen that are out of your control, and that was, I guess maybe the fighting was in my control, but the end result, just how life goes, it stung for sure. It stung a lot, and having to sit out and knowing that I could be out there helping my team and helping myself, hurt, but at the same time it provided more motivation to get back and come back stronger and pick up where I left off for the few games that were left remaining in that season. And you're down like anybody is after you get injured, but it's about not staying down and getting back up. And I knew that was going to be the case. So recovered and worked out off the ice. Luckily, it was my hand at the time, so I could still skate, and just tried to put myself in the best position for when I came back to play. Tried not to think too much about the other what ifs. Did it hurt me? Did it cause problems? Like, I try not to let my mind go that way, but I was lucky enough to come back and finish the season strong. And we had a good playoff run that just came up a little bit short there in Vancouver. But yeah, it was a good learning lesson, and finding out that things are not going to go your way all the time, even when you're feeling your best. Just another obstacle to overcome, and made me stronger as my career's gone on since then.
That's awesome. So you get a good contract, you're with Van, and then the unthinkable happens. It's crazy. Like who at 29 years old gets cancer?
Yeah.
I mean, look at you. You're this beast of a human. You're this guy who's a physical threat. You're this guy who's played all the way up, and you bring energy. You care about this sport. You care about your guys. And then out of nowhere, it's not, hey, you didn't train enough. It's not, hey, you're weak. It's cancer.
Yeah.
And man, the world just wrapped around you. I mean, everybody's like, hey, hope you're okay, man. Hope you're okay. And for you, somehow in a couple month period, you have a surgery on your body to take care of cancer, and you somehow get back up and try to make things work. And I know it wasn't easy and it didn't work out great, but seriously, how the hell did you handle such a gigantic thing? That's scary. It's stuff you can die from.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a scary situation to find out, especially being, a healthy guy and coming off of a great season. I was ready to go and pick up where I left off, and to have that setback and find out that news really puts a different spin on life, and gives you a different perspective. But at the end of the day, it was just another obstacle to overcome. And I would say early on, the worst was, just not wanting people to, look at me differently or think that I had this, sickness that could be passed along. Obviously, we know that doesn't work like that, but those were the thoughts going through my head, and just having to put that out there wasn't an ideal situation for anybody. But at the end of the day, it was lucky to catch that early and be able to have surgery, and had to miss some time for sure, and miss some training camp, which was tough. And then early on in the season, missed the first month and a half or so, maybe 2 months. But it got to a certain point where it's like, feeling bad for yourself is not doing anybody else any good. You got to, get back on the horse and keep riding. And, there's been other obstacles in my life that, like we talked about, for the hand, for instance, is a perfect situation that's, probably obviously different situations, but helped me, realize that there'll still be more opportunity to come back from this, and it's about how you want to handle it. And I took the route of trying to put it behind me as fast as possible and get back to doing what I love and making everybody else happy in the process of seeing me get back out there. And one of the big things was deciding to come out and tell everybody. I felt like that was a great situation where if I could have just helped somebody else out there that was going through a similar thing, that they could see my story and give them hope and bring them happiness to see somebody else succeeding after the fact of going through something so tough.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't have to do that. You could have made up a lie. It'd be so easy just to say, hey, I got an injury. My knee's out. It could have been anything. You could have made up a lie and covered the thing up. And you somehow, and I just know this, we worked together so long, you care about people. You try to be a decent guy.
Yeah.
You're a guy who's a difference maker. You're a guy who brings an entire human and compassion to this whole thing while also being this guy that people want to be. It's the truth. It's awesome.
No, yeah, for sure. It's, at the end of the day, hockey isn't everything, and it's about being a good person. And I think that's something that's never changed inside of me. I want to make sure everybody else is doing well and doing what I can to be a helping hand in whatever the situation may be. So I'll keep it going like that, but I appreciate that.
No, it's awesome.
Thank you.
It's awesome. So this trade to Toronto, it's amazing. And I look down and you look at the comments, look at what people have said. Former coaches saying, hey, this could be an amazing thing for Toronto because here we have a chance to have a guy like Dakota who's smart. He is intense. He can be physical. He has all these hits compared to so little penalty minutes. He's not a guy who just is out of control out there. He brings energy. He's a scoring threat. And he doesn't waste his time with stupid fights. It's amazing to hear stuff like that. It's also amazing to hear all this stuff from guys who just loved you and guys who are so happy to have you. And seeing all this stuff, it's such a big change moving your life to there. The people who watch this podcast go through changes all the time, all these little things you have to go through, and it's so hard because, in youth hockey, you played for Victory Honda, you played for Little Caesars, you played for Honeybake, you played for these different places, and that's how this goes, right? Like, it's a business. People are moving around all the time. How are you handling, and what do you think about going to Toronto?
Reality into the world that we live in, and it is a business at the end of the day. So you can never lose sight of that, but knowing the opportunity that lies ahead and going to Toronto with a coaching staff that I'm familiar with, and then in, the best hockey city in the world is quite the chance to take my career to another level that it hasn't seen yet. And I'm really excited towards, doing something special there. And obviously, yeah, like you said, it hurts to be traded, but at the same time, there's as much as somebody doesn't want you, there's somebody else that does. And I feel like this is one of those situations where I'll be a good fit in Toronto and hopefully, having another great chapter added on to my career.
That's great. These guys really want you, and it's cool because you have Berube who knows you. Berube gets you. He's happy to have you there. And you got Derek Lalonde, who came from Detroit, and he has experience in every single place he's gone. Mental performance has been a priority. He totally aligns with the stuff that you believe. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some really good stuff that happens there for people who really want you there. It's going to be awesome. There's this concept of musical chairs. And actually, I got this concept of musical chairs from Brian Berkey, the coach here who allowed me to have the space. It's all musical chairs, pick a chair is what he says. And it's so true. It doesn't matter what's going on. In hockey, this pyramid goes like this, right? And you got all these guys, and then the next level, you got even better guys, but less opportunity and fewer teams. And you're at the top. You're at the top of the food chain. You're at the place where everybody wants to be. How do you handle the idea that it really is sort of musical chairs in teams and moving and having to be adaptable? It's a lot. And I'd love you to say something in terms of maybe people coming up so that they can handle the fact that this is normal and there are ways to get through it for the best.
Yeah, I feel like it comes down to the mindset and the position that you put yourself in. There's positive everywhere you go, and not letting your mind go to negative things. Like you said, musical chairs. Maybe one opportunity missed opened up a chance for another great opportunity that's ahead, and kind of having that outlook instead of saying, oh, it didn't work out here, what am I going to do? I take the opposite approach and going to make the best of the situation that's given. And then it comes down to just how bad do you want it and what are you willing to do to go get it.
It's awesome. there's a story that not a lot of people know about. The guys I work with know, but I'm so happy to tell the story because you're not a guy who's prideful. You're awesome. I mean, you have almost 250 games in the NHL, and people want you. They're paying money to have you come, millions of dollars to have you play. You got teammates who care about you. You got fans who love you. And you helped a kid. You helped me help kids because, I work with some young kids too.
Yeah.
Work with guys at every level, but they're younger kids I work with. And I was here in Detroit, and there was a prominent Tier 1 team.
Yeah.
And there was a guy who's 13 years old. And you're like, hey, I'll come talk to the guys. And you could have been this guy who comes in as the big superstar guy. And you are. But you came in as a human there. And I loved it. And there was a kid who's like 6'2", 180 pounds at 13 years old. He's a monster.
Yeah.
Like, he's as big as some NHL guys.
Yeah.
And he's good. And he's a team captain guy. But he raises his hand. He says, Dakota, sometimes I feel like a worthless piece of shit. And the room just froze.
Yeah.
Because nobody knew he was thinking that before.
Yeah.
But there's something about you coming there and giving your time and being so human that he felt safe enough to say something. And he said that to you. And drum roll, please. And Dakota has a chance to puff up his chest, say, oh, just work harder, son. Do better things. It'll work. Don't focus on this. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I remember that situation very vividly. That was a great moment, and really gave the whole team, but him especially, purpose for us going in there and speaking to him that day. And after he came out and said that, and just me being able to respond and tell him that everybody feels like that, and I even personally feel like that sometimes too, but that's not the end of the road, and we can all get past that as long as you're willing to be open to thinking differently about it. And once again, it goes back to picking your ball up and going home. You can take it and leave, and that's fine. That's your choice. But also, you can take the bad days and find good ones out of it. So just being able to really relay that message to them, I like to think helped them out, and just being able to see that other people are having the same thoughts really went a long way that day, and a moment I won't forget.
I just want you to know, I deal with the whole scale, right? So I deal with guys who are super high performers who push away the negative pretty quickly and just go for what they want. Guys like you just moving on, doing great things. And then I deal with people who are on the other side of the scale who are so stuck in disappointment and doubt and fear and worry, or a young guy trying to figure it out. And it starts with, I think I'm a piece of shit. It starts with doubt, fear, worry. It starts with, hey man, I got benched. Maybe I'm not all that good. I'm disappointing my mom, disappointing my dad, disappointing my coach. And at some point, if you don't find a way to talk about how you feel and get it off your chest, like that kid expressed it out to you.
Yeah.
You don't find a way to get that stuff out. It just stays inside. And it's literally like a cancer. It eats you up inside. And this kid said this, and just the idea that you would take the moment to say that, like at that moment, man, like I couldn't put you on a higher pedestal. I don't care if you quit the NHL. I don't care if you never played in the NHL. That kind of stuff matters. And you have this platform. And I'm so grateful that you're talking about this stuff, because you can have more, or you can heal, or anywhere in between. But in the end, man, it's you against your thoughts all the time.
Yeah.
And you're like living proof of that. I love how you're so vocal about mental performance. You're willing to come on in this. And there's guys who lose their minds all the time. Mm-hmm. You've seen this. We talked in the beginning of the podcast about how we've seen pro players, won't mention their names, who just lose it. And they get off their game. And it really is this battle between keeping your focus and going into this instinctive doubt, fear, worry stuff that everybody has. I mean, every single person has this kind of stuff as an instinct, and you found a way to get past that. I'd love to know, is there some last message you have, something that you'd like to say about mental performance, in the hopes that the 8-year-old kid at a house league in Florida just trying to believe in himself with all this gear and he doesn't know how to move around, and kids are making fun of him, all the way up to guys who are going from the AHL into the NHL, fighting for the big dream. Is there anything else you'd want to say on mental performance to help these guys?
Yeah, for sure. It comes down to being able to, take how you feel and not look past it, but find a way to resolve it. And that was a big reason why I started in mental performance with you, was, everybody, myself included, is having these thoughts. And when it comes down to playing a sport, whether it be hockey, football, baseball, tennis, soccer, whatever the sport may be, there's always going to be doubt. And they say it's about 90% mental, 10% physical. At a certain point, everybody's, in the same age group growing up. And then Once you get older, everybody's physically around the same. So there's only so much to give in that aspect of it. And, the mental side is where you get the advantage for me and being able to process things, think about it, talk about it, whatever it may be, and then put your best foot forward towards whatever it may be that you're going for. I would tell the kids that it's okay to have those thoughts, but at the end of the day, it's about how you respond and how you get back up and keep pushing forward, even though, you might have a bad week or, a bad month where you feel like everything's stacked against you. It's all still right there if you're willing to recognize that you can keep pushing forward and get back up time and time again. It's the best way to respond, I've found, and I would love to pass that along to anybody that's listening.
Well, thank you so much. I think just to summarize, we always do a summary at the end of these things just so people have something actionable to move forward on. Dakota Joshua has given us something really clear, and that's that you can try to throw dirt on things, or you can acknowledge them, accept them, express them out, find a way to move through the crap that happens, find a way to move through the ups and downs of life, find a way to move through the fact that hockey moves and it's unpredictable. You never know where you're going to be. And it's the same thing for life, and that's really why we do this.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we're trying to help people figure out how not just have a hockey life, but a whole life, and that helps making great hockey players. I also want to summarize by saying that every single time that you run into something, you have a chance to get back up. You have a chance to move past whatever bad things there are, and you have a chance every moment of every day to just choose your life. And you've been such a great example of all of that. So thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time. Was there anything else that you wanted to say?
Yeah, I would just like to say it's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get back up, and that's what matters at the end of the day. So, no, I appreciate you having me on. It's really good, and, let me know when you want me back again.
That sounds great. And like every week, we just want to tell you that we hope you stay dialed and driven in all your hockey dreams, the things you go after, because being dialed and being driven is really the only way to get what you want. Dakota's a perfect example of that.
One of the best saves you will ever see keeps this game alive.
Chris Palmer again, the Hockey Mentality Podcast, Dialed and Driven.